May 1925, Paris. Victor Lustig sits in a room at the Hôtel de Crillon and sends letters on official-looking government stationery. The recipients are leading scrap metal dealers. The message is confidential and almost impossible to ignore. The French government, he says, is preparing to dismantle the Eiffel Tower. The claim sounds absurd today, but in 1925, it was not completely unbelievable. The tower had been built for the 1889 Paris Exposition and was originally expected to stand for only 20 years. It survived partly because its height made it useful for radio communication, but maintaining the enormous iron structure was expensive. Lustig saw exactly what a confidence man looks for, a real fact that could support a much larger lie. He presented himself as a senior official from the Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs. He invited several dealers to the Crillon and told them the government had quietly decided to sell the tower for demolition. The matter had to remain secret, he explained, because officials wanted to avoid public outrage before the deal was complete. Secrecy was not a weakness in the story. It was the reason nobody could easily verify it. Then, Lustig made the scheme physical. He rented a limousine and took the dealers to inspect the Eiffel Tower. They stood beneath thousands of tons of iron while the supposed official calmly discussed bids, demolition rights, and scrap value. The tower was real, the limousine was real, the hotel was real, and the paperwork looked real. Only the sale was imaginary. Among the dealers was André Poisson, a businessman still trying to establish himself in Paris. Lustig decided he was the best target. Poisson was interested, but suspicious. Lustig responded by adding another layer to the deception. He implied that, like many poorly paid officials, he expected something personal in return for awarding the contract. That suggestion made him seem more believable. Corruption was easier for Poisson to accept than the possibility that the entire meeting was fake. According to later accounts, Poisson agreed to pay Lustig $20,000 in cash, with another $50,000 connected to securing the deal. Once the money changed hands, Lustig left Paris for Austria. Then he waited for the police. Nothing happened. Poisson discovered there was no sale and no government contract, but reporting the crime would mean admitting that he had been fooled by a man selling the Eiffel Tower. He stayed silent. For Lustig, that silence was almost as valuable as the money. It told him the first operation had left no immediate police trail. So he returned to Paris. This is where the famous claim that he sold the Eiffel Tower twice becomes complicated. Lustig appears to have repeated the setup with another group of scrap dealers, but the best documented accounts say he became suspicious that one of the new targets had contacted police. Rather than complete the second deal, he abandoned Paris and fled to the United States. The legend says he sold the tower twice. The surviving evidence more clearly supports one completed sale and a second attempt. America gave him new targets. Lustig returned to one of his favorite tricks, a device he claimed could duplicate banknotes. He later approached Al Capone, convinced the gangster to hand over $50,000, kept the money untouched, then returned it and claimed the investment had failed. Capone, impressed by what seemed like honesty, reportedly rewarded him with $5,000. Lustig had found a way to profit from returning someone's own money. By the early 1930s, his crimes became more serious. He entered a large counterfeiting operation that produced fake American currency, convincing enough to attract the Secret Service. In May 1935, agents arrested him in New York. A key found on him led investigators to a subway locker containing counterfeit bills and printing plates. Even jail did not immediately stop him. Before trial, Lustig escaped from the federal detention headquarters in Manhattan using a rope made from bed sheets. Witnesses saw him descending the building, but he reportedly pretended to be a window cleaner. He was recaptured weeks later in Pittsburgh, convicted, and eventually sent to Alcatraz. Victor Lustig died in 1947 after years behind bars. His career included fake identities, counterfeit money, invented machines, wealthy victims, and escapes from custody. Yet none became as famous as the day respectable businessman entered a Paris hotel and listened to a government official explain why France was secretly selling its greatest landmark.